So I was working in this major ad agency in Dallas and sat around the corner from the founder of the agency, who is fabled for being in the office every day and knowing everybody's first name. And I passed him in the hall and said hello to him. And he was consistent always in looking you in the eye and saying, "Hello, Jeannie." And he passed me in the hall and he looked me in the eye and then he turned away. And to the ground he said, "Hello, Jeannie." And I was on my way somewhere and I turned right around and headed back to my desk and started uploading files because I knew that was the day I was going to be laid off.
The phone rang and it was the chief creative officer of the agency. And I just sat there looking at the caller ID, his name. And now this guy's calling me on the day that I know there are layoffs on my floor. Hello? Hey, dude, come down to the office for a sec? Okay. Hung up my phone. I walked by my partner's office and I think I'm going to get laid off.
We lost a major piece of business and there was a series of layoffs that I avoided and one day I couldn't avoid it any longer.
But I felt really safe because I was the only writer in this ad agency. I'm like, well, I'm safe. You can't run an ad agency without a writer. And one morning they just pulled us all into a room and I was like, oh, she's going to tell us that we're the only ones left and they're letting go of everybody else. I looked around, I was like, oh, there's an account person, a media person, a art director, and a writer. You can run an ad agency with this. And we were the four being let go.
That Thursday, everybody got it, and it was bad. Oh, it was horrible. You could just, people just, oh my God, so-and-so got it, so-and-so got it. Like, oh, I can't believe they got it. People were walking by, crying, and like an asshole, I was going around like hugging people, saying like, don't worry, it's no big deal. You know, I've been laid off twice before, once by my own dad, you know, like, trust me, it's not that bad. Things will get better. I'm the guy going around trying to make everybody feel better.
And they were calling each person in. But it's this glass-lined conference room, so anyone who walks down the end of the hall going up the stairs, they can see into that. So they know who's ever going into that room, who's ever sitting in that room right now, is getting laid off.
Friday, the next day rolls around, and they're having a big meeting where they're going to announce that, hey, basically everybody that's in the office today is fine. On our way to the meeting, we get a call from our creative director, and they say, like, "Hey, would you know, I'd love to talk to you." So we're walking over there, and my partner's like, "Why are we gonna have that meeting?" I'm like, "Dude, don't you understand? We're getting promotions."
I got to work in the morning at 10 o'clock.
And I got this little, beep on my phone.
And the HR person came in with her hatchet and closed my door, and that was it.
It was a very perfunctory meeting, took about 4 minutes.
Here's your paperwork, here's your severance, goodbye, see you later.
Blah, 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 blah. Whatever happened after that, I don't know.
We had to move rooms because the meeting went longer and that conference room was booked, so we had to go move to another room.
This is a joke, right? This is was a secret camera somewhere or something? And
my partner starts freaking out. He's just like, we're getting fired. We're getting fired. I'm like, shut up. We are not getting fired. I go, we just won the only piece of business in 2008. We don't get fired.
My boss came to me and said there's going to be layoffs. Basically, your head's on the chopping block. And I was like, cool.
I think I tried to say something funny like, I'm not going in until the HR woman leaves, and nobody laughed.
I emailed to a buddy of mine. I sent an email, a quick one, that said something to the effect of, what are you doing this afternoon? I got to go get laid off, and I'll give you a call in a bit.
Got my cell phone out, and I texted my wife, and I just wrote, fired.
Called my wife, and I said, hey, hon, can you come get me at the train? I'm on my way home. She's like, oh, yeah, you got the day off. You coming home early?
And that's when I thought, oh, no, it's true.
Yep, we're letting you go. And I was just like, okay.
I was so pissed because I didn't see it coming. That's the only, I was just so mad. I was like, what? And yeah, so we got let go on Friday the 13th. Yeah.
I got laid off, and I'm finally doing something that I think matters. So. My daughter, who's 7 years old, name's Malin. When she was a year old, doctors are trying to figure out what's the deal. You know, I need to feed her more, she has to eat more, something's going on. It took about another 6 or 7 months to figure out what the problem was. And that's when we found out she had cystic fibrosis. That was the day sort of everything changes. The way you look at life. You know, you think you have everything figured out. You can plan it out. You can kind of see, like, this is where my life is going. My life was not going in that direction anymore. It's time to rethink where we're going with our lives. Where is this family going? What are we going to do?
I got laid off and I panicked.
First of all, your ego is deflated, and you feel worthless. You feel as if no matter how long you were at the company, something went wrong. You did something wrong.
There was just this moment of shock. I mean, it was really like someone had punched me in the chest.
I felt like I had failed. I've always been a high-achieving person, and this was the first time that somebody in a professional environment had said, you know, in such terms, we don't want you anymore and you don't do what we want. It was an awful feeling. I've never had such a low self-esteem.
But as with all things in life, there's always an upside.
The day that I walked out, I walked into my own company.
I've got like a clean slate, a clean canvas right now. What can I start?
Wake up at 4 in the morning, before the alarm clocks, before the birds, before the sun gets up. I'm just like, holy shit, how am I gonna do this today?
This will be an opportunity. This is not, okay, I do have to worry about money, but this will be good. This will be a nice, this is a kick that's gonna make me go try something new.
I carried a little journal with me and wrote down everything that came to mind. Professional basketball player, bulldozer driver, hot dog vendor went on the list.
I got laid off and I was thrilled.
I was inspired to start Please Feed the Animals when I lost my job. It wasn't the first time I'd been laid off, so I thought I had some, veterans experience on how to navigate unemployment. It started there as a blog, just as a event space. As it evolved, it's become sort of a full-service community job board, resource, event space, all of that stuff that I mentioned, but much more geared toward helping people get back on their feet. So it's less of an emotional community, and now it's actually a practical one.
Looking at the economy and how bad it was, and knowing that the ad spending was falling off at a sharper rate than ever before, for longer than it's ever done that, there's no question that it's dismal, still is. and it has been for a while, and it doesn't look like it's getting better.
You know, hundreds of really good, talented people out on the street, people I really admired and like looked up to, and I realized, okay, if that's my competition, then I got to do something to stand out. So I just really just thought, like, why not put together like a portfolio site that I myself, if it came across my desk, would make me laugh. And seemed like a good idea just to take my clothes off and lay on a bearskin rug and pretend I was Burt Reynolds for about 5 minutes.
There is so much talent out there that's not being utilized and not working at agencies. The market is so out of whack, a lot of businesses don't need to go to agencies anymore. There are smarter ways to do it. All of the people that are jobless and talented right now are ready to help. They're eager to do it, and they want to do it because they like to do it.
I responded to an ad on Craigslist for a recruiter seeking resumes, and I figured I'm casting a really wide net here. I'll submit my resume, and I'll see what's going on with this new company. Hi, I'm Jonathan Holitsky. I'm here for my 11 o'clock. She goes down a list of people with appointments. I'm not on the list. And about 15 minutes later, the receptionist comes back in and says, oh, Mike will see you now. Mike is not the person I made the appointment with, but at least someone will see me. I was just dreading them telling me that I had to come back later. I sit down, and he was acting a little strange.
Have you ever had to spin any bad news?
Well, I've been in positions where I've had to share news that was less than positive.
So let's say, for example, an article came out recently that said that your product could potentially kill 1 billion people this century. What could you do with that?
That's, what, 17% of the world's population?
I don't know.
It is.
Well, as part of the Truth campaign, I've been receiving some residual checks, and I've got one here for a whopping $1.24, which basically is for 2 cable spots, because I think right now I'm down to 67 cents an airing.
About 10 years ago, there was a study done in Australia among people with cystic fibrosis, and they found there's one group of people that seems to be healthier. They have better lung function, better scores, they were healthier than the regular population. And it turns out these people are surfers. And so they're like, well, what's the connection? Is it being active? And it's like, well, yeah, being active is an important part. But actually what they found is that the sailing in the ocean air works as a lubricant, and it helps to dislodge that mucus. So playing in the ocean, working the ocean, surfing is a great natural therapy. I came across this foundation that started doing free surf camps for kids with cystic fibrosis. World famous surfers in the water, one-on-one lesson with some 10-year-old kid with CF for a morning. I was like, there's a cool story here. What can I, as an advertising guy with very limited talents outside of the advertising world, what can I do to make some sort of difference here, And it was early in the morning, and I can remember the day it hit me. It's like, well, I should make some sort of movie.
Well, I started working in advertising in 2003, and by 2006, I knew I didn't want to stay in it, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I started looking around, I started exploring different things, and I found yoga.
It seemed to me that I had built my portfolio to a point where I could actually make a living doing freelance. And as time went on, things happened in the business, jobs got further and further apart, and I found myself with a lot of time on my hands. So I started painting very seriously. Probably drew and painted from the time I can remember, It was something that I always loved. It was an escape when I was a kid.
I had him in the back of my head, this whole coffee thing. And, you know, I'd always been a home roaster, and I thought, well, maybe I can do something with this. Can I make this work? What can I do? You know, this machine that I have out here was quite an investment. And so I did the research on which coffee roaster I wanted. And, you know, one day I pulled the trigger, bought it, and arrived at the house here. I didn't really have any clients or anything, you know. I just had this $10,000 coffee roaster, and we're like, where are we going to put this thing?
What working on this film has done for me is it gives me a really good reason to get up every day and try to figure out how am I gonna, it's the independent filmmaker thing, you know, how am I gonna pay for this?
The first painting I sold felt great. It was an amazing feeling that something so personal could be viewed by someone else as something that they wanted to acquire for an art collection. My first show was in the First Street Gallery on 26th Street, and I had been preparing for that show, and I had 17 paintings in the show and sold 16. After I sold my first painting, I thought, you know, gee, I can do this as well as freelance.
Busy people who work full-time and don't have, you know, tons of hours to take care of their health. I help them figure out what they need to do to stay happy and healthy. And I teach yoga, so sometimes it's about food and nutrition, and sometimes it's about physical well-being. I work harder than I ever did. I'm up earlier, I'm on the computer, I'm on a client call, and my days are all different. Sometimes I leave, go teach yoga. Sometimes I take a break in the middle of the day and do nothing because I'll be working late at night.
It wasn't so much, I need to get a job immediately, and that's really a credit to my wife and how supportive she was. She wasn't like, you better get back out there right away. It was more like, you know, take your time, you need to let this sink in and figure out what you want to do next.
I just said to my wife one day, I really want to do this. And she said, go for it.
I get this call, you know, right about the time where I'm feeling kind of desperate about, you know, what are we going to do for money? How are we going to pay the mortgage, you know? And I get this call from a former colleague who's now the creative director of an agency out in San Francisco. And he says, we've got about a month's worth of work for you, if you want it. You need to be out here for it, you know, for most of it. And it's, you know, it's good money, and I just was feeling afraid about all this stuff, and I went to my wife, Catherine, and I said, I get this great chance. I'll go freelance in San Francisco, make some money, and, you know, put some money in the bank. She said, you can't take that. What do you mean I can't do that? I mean, I have to do that, don't I? She's like, well, you've been making all these promises. Please Feed the Animals got some press. I've been telling everyone that I'm doing this full time, that the launch of the site is going to happen on this date, that, you know, there's going to be a fully functioning job board, and everyone's going to come to the site and figure out how to, you know, get employed again. I mean, this is the promises that I made to people who, you know, probably now in the thousands of readers who, you know, who are expecting a delivery. And she went over to the computer. She opened up our financial software, and she said, here's how much we have in our 401k, here's how much we have in savings, here's how much open credit we have on our credit cards. You know, let's exhaust the savings first, turn to our 401k second, credit cards third, and if we have to sell the house, that'll be our last resort. It's my wife, you know, my wife who's the typical warrior in the family about money, who, that was the sort of turning point for me in my commitment to Please Feed the Animals, and my commitment to my wife, to be honest with you, who my wife, who I didn't think I was gonna do this.
One of the pieces of advice that I read somewhere early on was, don't be the person who's out there looking for a job, be the person who's out there doing something interesting. And I thought, what a great piece of advice, because I don't want to be the person out there looking for a job. I just don't, you know?
You know, people sit around all day and like waiting for the phone to ring, and you're just a blinking light on someone's voicemail.
Sometimes there's things you love to do that you forget about. So put your energy in the things that you love. Put all the energy you can into those things and see what happens.
Cupping is how we evaluate coffee, and it's very much like tasting wine. There's over 1,500 characteristics and attributes in coffee. There's 500 in wine. I wanted to really raise the bar on coffee and put a product out there that people were gonna love.
Thank you very much.
Well, it sounds cliche, and probably people say this all the time, but if you do what you love, the money will follow you.
The thing that's the most dangerous is to not do anything. That's the worst possible thing you can do. Make something. Make something. Make yourself into something. It doesn't even matter if it doesn't match with one person, it's gonna match with somebody else. If you do nothing, or if you just, lightweight, I've got this LinkedIn page and that's what I got, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
I hadn't really tackled any life adventures in a while. I'd kind of just been working really hard on my career, and it was in a good place. But I hadn't, I'd grown up doing a lot of sports and ski racing and cycling, and I'd kind of gotten out of shape, and I was in my 30s now, and I was like, all right, what am I, have I lost some part of myself? What can I do to kind of, reinvigorate myself? And I was a big cyclist growing up, and I followed bike racing. And this summer happened to be the summer that was possibly going to be Lance Armstrong's 5th breakthrough Tour de France victory. Little did we know at the time he'd go on to a few more, but at the time it was a really big deal in the cycling world. So I made that my big mission. I'm gonna get back in the best shape of my life. I'm gonna take on this big challenge. I'm gonna go over there with a bunch of cycling buddies. We're gonna follow the Tour de France. Ride all the same climbs as them. We're gonna ride 6, 7, 8 hours a day. And have an adventure. And that's how it started out.
If you've had an idea, if there's something you always have wanted to do, now is the time to do it. Even if you think you don't have what it takes to do it, just do it.
I'm gonna get this website together, and I'm gonna update it each night from the road, and I'm gonna talk about, why am I doing this, and what's so great about cycling, and, chasing, sort of going on a personal pilgrimage. That kind of became the big theme. And some kind of, redemption for a guy in his early 30s who's trying to get back in shape and follow a hero and get re-inspired. And
my ultimate goal for Please Feed the Animals is for people to understand the enormous opportunity that's directly in front of them. When you get laid off, it's not a pink slip, it's a blank page.
I think it's easy to fall asleep in your own life and just kind of take what you have and assume that that's the best you're ever going to have. But you can make huge, huge, profound changes. I know for myself, but also with my clients, I see them do this. And it can be the smallest thing, like changing something about your diet.
I was asked by a coworker to dress up for Halloween. And my coworker was dressing up as the dude from The Big Lebowski and asked me to dress up as Walter Sobchak, the character played by John Goodman. And I agreed, and I threw myself into it, and it was by all accounts an incredible costume. And as soon as I walked into the office, I started feeling strange, and I was aware of myself making my movements more masculine. You know, my posture changed, I was hunched over, I was talking differently, and that was kind of the beginning of things that happened for me. In a sense, my own playing of a man, even as myself, was a performance. And so somehow when I took this costume off, a part of my manhood came off with it. A couple days later, I went back to New York from San Francisco to my father's deathbed. I took a leave of absence. I flew home. I spent a week with my father and the rest of the family helping take care of him. And then he died on November 13th of 2007. Getting laid off took away my last shred of responsibility. You know, I had lost my father, who was that influence. I left my wife, who was that influence. And all I had left was this life where all I was doing was going to work to earn a paycheck so I could go home and sit in my apartment. Getting laid off gave me a chance to go back to what I was a long time ago and start over. I got laid off and I changed my gender.
When I was a child, I grew up in rural New Hampshire on the ocean. And I was one of those people that liked the beach in the winter more than the summer. And I think it's because I was alone there. There's something about that, that aloneness to me that's sort of spiritual.
You know, you don't have to quit your job to change your life. You can just incorporate more of what you love into your everyday, and it makes the biggest difference in the world.
I was in advertising for 22 years, and so I took all that marketing experience and used it for this business. Designed my own bags. I put up my own point of purchase displays. I designed my own website, everything. But having that marketing background was just such a wonderful thing for me to have.
People that I worked with in advertising were some of the most unhealthy people I have ever met. You know, it's just this constant stress, and nobody takes time for themselves. A lot of people don't see their families as much as they'd like, and it's a shame. And a lot of people would say to me, nobody likes when you leave to go to yoga at night. I mean, I think it's really cool and I respect what you're doing, but you should know that people talk. So, talk.
If somebody would ask me if I would ever take another agency job again, I would say no. I mean, I would work for a client, yes, but I would never go back and lose this independence. Never. Cards of Change is where we ask laid off people to upload their old business card and write on that business card their new contact info, plus one positive change that happened in their lives as a result of being laid off.
Having left the ad agency world just gave me time to do other stuff in my life, like a lot of volunteer stuff and things like that.
You've got time to plan your daughter's wedding. You finally see your kids again. You eat 3 meals a day.
Yeah, every day feels like the weekend, and I'm just happier. Just happier.
Looking for a new job is as much a full-time as anything else. So, but I still figured I can give 3 hours a week to God's love. I work in the department where the applications are evaluated to determine the client's eligibility. Anybody who signs up, they'll turn it around and get you a meal in 24 hours. And that really opened my eyes to just doing good things. I just got more personal fulfillment from that. It was just on a higher level.
Over the years, offers have always come in, and I've just sort of brushed them aside. I'm happy. I'm doing I'm doing my own thing. I'm running my own business. I'm not going back. I'll never go back. If I went back, I'd probably be fired in the first week because I'd act like I write. And so you can't. I mean, you just can't be like that. You have to play the game if you work for the man. Ad Rants is technically a weblog. We write about advertising news, new campaigns, interesting creative trends, current topics, but with a little bit of a twist. It's snarky, it's wise-ass, it's fun, it's, as a friend once said, something that people read when they're feeling bad, which actually worked really perfectly for the point I was in my life, having been laid off. I was bitter, I was upset. And as a side note, I had just gone through cancer. I had colon cancer. And so I had faced, an operation. I had gone through 8 months of chemotherapy. So to me, the world was a terrible place. And all of that came out in my writing and my voice. Sort of like, can I say fuck you?
Bitch, moan, hate, get it out of your system, and be hungover the next day. And make that the end of it.
I sell bills to pay and things, and I worry about painting, selling, and the bad economy. But I feel like I've made a good choice for me at this stage in my career. And I can concern myself more with the art than the expense of living in a place like Manhattan, which for me is important right now. I don't know where I'm going to end up.
If it weren't for losing my job, my life would be awful. Because my life is great now. I love it.
I'm still falling and I haven't hit the ground yet, but I just needed to push off the cliff. And, so in a way, I appreciate it. Getting laid off was not a bad thing. It's like, well, now there's like the world of possibilities. So, making a movie, that's just one of the things. Who knows what else is going to happen?
My name is Mark Radcliffe.
My name is Bob Weeks.
I'm Lisa Hickey.
My name's Tom Van Dale.
Steve Hall.
I'm Lawson Clark.
My name's Eric Prue.
My name is Hank Leber.
Jonathan Halitsky.
Jeannie Shad.
Todd Galentine.
My name is Ronan Doyle.
My name is David Cohen.
Kevin Kearns.
Michelle Fennekas.
My name is Curtis Glade, and I got laid off from a big ad agency. It's awesome.